Thank you for joining us today with Coffee with the Candidates. I have John Marquardt here with me today, and he is running in the June 7th primary for Yankton County Commission. As a reminder to everyone, absentee voting is available for you right now down at the County Commission chambers. And if you are intending to vote in person on June 7th, your locations are Yankton City Hall, Yankton Fire Station number 2, Gayville Community Center, Mayfield Store, Lesterville Fire Hall, and Lewis and Clark Recreation Area. Well, John, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, why don't you start by telling the viewing audience a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. My name is John Marquardt. Presently, I'm working at Marquardt Transportation here in Yankton. Originally, I was born in a small farming community at Clayton, South Dakota in Hutchinson County. My parents owned a general store there, and so I got some experience in customer service at a very young age, stocking shelves and things like that. I also did work for area farmers, picking rocks, shocking grain, fixing fence, any kind of chores that they could come up with. So I did go to first 3 years of my schooling. I was in a one-room schoolhouse in Clayton area. That closed down, and finished my education in Emory at the Emory Elementary and Emory High School. I started playing fast-pitch softball when I was 13 years old in Milltown. Where is Clayton, South Dakota? Just 7 miles east of Milltown. So most of you folks will know where Milltown is at. I met my wife on a Friday night dance when Johnny Holmes was playing on stage. Wonderful wife, Gail. Gail and I have 3 children. Our oldest daughter, Lindsay, and her husband, Keith, live in San Francisco with our only granddaughter, Ilya. Daughter, Jessica, and her husband, Ty, live in New Braunfels, Texas. Kyle and his wife, Kristen, live in Harrisburg, South Dakota. After high school, I started working at Trail King Industries in Mitchell, South Dakota, manufacturing semi-trailers. I did that for 15 years. Of the last 5 years there, I was in customer service, traveling all over the United States and Canada, dealing with issues there. 1995, my brother Ralph gave me a call and said he needed help running his trucking company. Gail and I made a conversation, decided to move to Yankton. Probably the best move we've ever made, other than having the 3 children and getting married, obviously. So we moved to Yankton in 1995. I helped manage a trucking company. We managed up to 175 trucks and drivers. So I got my feet wet in maintenance, DOT regulations, safety, HR, things like that. Transparency with 175 truck drivers is very interesting. So I'm a firm believer in transparency. In 2015, I took over the management of Tabor Feed and Grain in Tabor, South Dakota, which later became Upper Midwest Grain Elevators, as we had 3 other facilities that we operated at that time. After 5 years, that closed down. We sold the Tabor facility and just used the other 3 for storage, grain storage. So I got a lot of experience there, also in agriculture, grain marketing, custom feed mixing, grain feed for hogs, cattle, sheep, chickens. So a lot of experience gained there also. After that, I moved back to Yankton and helped my nephew, Doug, manage his trucking company that he purchased from Ralph. So I have the work experience and the community knowledge to serve the citizens of Yankton County as your county commissioner.
And I do want to note that a lot of people might be seeing you. They might not have recognized your name, but they would know you from umpiring softball.
Correct.
You've done that for a number of years here in Yankton.
This will be my 19th year.
Yes, so thank you for all your service to all the kids in the community so
Certainly.
They can have that exposure to softball.
Certainly, it was a joy.
No, absolutely. So what is the most important role of a county commissioner?
I think the most important role is to listen to the people of the county, go back, sit down, analyze, prioritize the situations, and then develop a plan to incorporate those decisions and what you have heard from the counties so that it's good for the whole county and not just one area.
So when you talk about, listening to the citizens of the county, how would they be able to get a hold of you so you could hear their thoughts?
I carry a cell phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Through the trucking company, that's a necessity. Now, when I'm elected county commissioner, I think that'll be a necessity to make sure that phone is on also.
So what skills do you have that differentiate you from some of the other candidates?
As you mentioned earlier, as an umpire, I have to make a decision and a call immediately. There's a lot of things you have to process. And a little statistic that an average umpire is 95% correct on every call they make. I consider myself to be above average, so. But I've also got experience in the maintenance world, manufacturing, HR, safety, DOT regulations, and so forth. So I think that differentiates me from very diverse.
I think also some of the experience that you have with the trucking workforce right now, knowing how much of a challenge that is, also brings a lot to the table because, employment issues in all areas right now are difficult, and trucking is especially difficult these days.
Exactly. Even not only the truck drivers, getting them hired, but also people in the shop, dispatchers. There's definitely a need for more workers here in Yankton.
So there's been a lot of conversation around zoning in Yankton County. Can you share some of your thoughts?
I guess my number one thought is I don't know what was wrong with the zoning and ordinances that in the previous 10 years ago. I think Yankton County grew and developed very nicely with those regulations. But at the same token, it's very important to have the ordinances written so that the people in the county can understand. I've heard complaints about, can I raise 5 chickens in my backyard? Is that okay? Do I have to go to the zoning board and find out? Can I grow tomatoes in my backyard and actually sell the extras instead of leaving them rot at the farmer's market? Is that legal? So can I park my camper in my driveway for the winter when I'm not using it? So I think there's got to be a way that as a commissioner I can figure out a way to make sure that the people understand and the ordinances and that are written so that they know what they're doing when they want to do it.
So what are your thoughts on having a full or part-time county administrator?
My first thought when I read this question was, do we really need another position? After further review, I changed my mind, and I do believe that there may be an opportunity there to hire a person to assist in incorporating all the departments in Yankton County. And if you can hire a person for $30,000 to $50,000 and they can save you $100,000 by centralizing some of the effects in the county departments, then it was money well spent.
Yeah, I think that's one of those topics that has been kind of hot around Yankton over the years because no one wants to hire more staff. But as you say, there could be some greater benefits that actually help pay for that position.
Exactly.
And I think, whomever is elected, I hope they continue to do research with other counties and see how effective maybe that's been for them as well.
Certainly.
So management of the county budget is an integral part of the county's growth and development. What is the process you will use to create a progressive yet responsible county budget?
Very interesting. As you know, I'm very conservative. Working with the trucking business, there's always ways that we need to figure out the way to cut expenses. And in my history at St. John's Lutheran Church, I managed the budget for 8 years as a chairman president of the congregation. So therefore, you got to tighten up your purse strings wherever you can, and we need to prioritize expenditures wherever we need to. And I just know that I'm going to make sure that all of the departments present their budget properly and oversee them.
Yeah, I hope if you're elected, you can find a way to make that budget a little bit easier to understand.
Yeah.
I know it's very complex for the average citizen just to go in and take a look at some of those numbers, and maybe some of that is by state legislation or rules that have to be followed, but
Exactly.
simplifying that would be helpful. So does your party affiliation really matter as a county commissioner?
Not as a county commissioner. It's a title, I guess, or whatever, and it's a format that we have to follow to go through this process of being elected as a commissioner or as a local elected official. So I guess it's more or less the process than the importance of it.
So please share your thoughts on the county's relationship with the city of Yankton.
Well, I guess I look at it as it's probably okay now, but at the same token, there's always room for improvement in any relationship other than your spouse.
Well, at times there's improvement there too.
You said it, I didn't.
Yeah. But at the same time, I agree with you. Working with the city and the county is really important. Do you feel that collaborating on different projects might be beneficial?
Certainly, and that's definitely a plan of mine to look at all of the different departments, all of the different situations between the county and the city. We already share the sheriff and the police station. So are there any other places where we can share expenses or share facilities or issues that need to be brought up?
So the county's reputation around the state hasn't always been positive. What will you do to help Yankton County be viewed in a better light?
I guess that's where my customer service experience will come into play. As I mentioned with Trail King and even at my folks' country store, I learned a lot about customer service. How do we deal with the people that are affected our lifestyles? So I guess my thought is to first of all figure out what the differences are, why the differences are out there, and approach them in a professional manner and bring to light. I personally think that Yankton County and the city of Yankton are probably the best places to live in the state of South Dakota. If not, other than a few days where the weather is pretty crappy, I think it's the best place in the United States. But that's just my opinion. So I will work with whoever I need to work with to make sure that relationship is salvaged and moved forward.
So at times, you may be on the minority side of a vote that is passed by the majority. How will you continue to work with your fellow commissioners to support an initiative that you may be voted against but was passed by the majority?
I'm actually at this time, I'm going to quote a friend of mine from USA Softball. He says, if it does not go John's way, he is still a friend. He believes that the majority has spoken, that it doesn't mean that he won't go home, study the issue again, make some changes and come to the next meeting with a new proposal if he feels that it's needed. Also, growing up, I'm the 11th child of 12, and I didn't always get my way at home with all my brothers and sisters. So I learned at an early age to adjust and get along with as many people as I can.
So is there anything you want to share with our viewers today that maybe wasn't a part of a question that was previously asked?
The only thing I'd like to share is my faith. Throughout the past years, we've all been strained with the pandemic and issues throughout the country. But I've been the leader at St. John's Lutheran Church, serving several years as a head elder. I served 2 full terms as congregational chairman. I've led them through good times and through bad times. Like I mentioned earlier, the budget process is, even though it's not as large as the county, Yankton counties or Yankton cities or any of the other small towns in the area, it's still an issue that we have to deal with members and voters. So, the good times, we enjoyed the award of the employer's support of the Guard and Reserve. I got a trip to Washington, D.C. to accept that award for the congregation. Also, there's been trying times. We went through in 2009 arson fire at the church pretty much destroyed 40% of the building. We've also had the COVID pandemic issue. We've had ministry changes, preschool issues, office switches. So that, I believe, gives me the experience and the knowledge to serve citizens of Yankton County.
Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. We appreciate you putting yourself out there to run for a term as Yankton County Commissioner. And once again, absentee voting is available, or we encourage you to vote on June 7th. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.